YouTube's still working on it. Hey, there's YouTube. All right. Bear with me. It's just me again. Hey, welcome back. Just me again for now. Zach should be joining in about 15 minutes. So, let's see. It is 4 o'clock. Let me get my notes out. Again, bear with me, y'all. All right. Let's do this. Good evening, any and all people who listen to this radio station. This is WDSR. This is the Armchair Analysts on Duquesne WDSR Student Radio. Hey, and then there were two. The championship games are over, and the Super Bowl matchup is finally decided. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs for being the top two teams, the best teams in their respective conferences. What a road. What a road. Obviously, this show hasn't been going on for the entire season, but, you know, it's still a long season regardless for anyone who's been following it. Season starts in early September. It is now early February. That's a long, long, long time to be playing a sport. And these guys have been doing it better than anybody and officially longer than anybody now. And now they face off February 12th, Sunday, in Phoenix, I believe, is when Super Bowl 57 will take place. It's Kansas City Chiefs at Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles get to be considered the home team this year. I think they take turns. It's the NFC's turn. So that's going to be very exciting. So what happened this weekend? How did we get here? Well, we'll start off with the NFC Championship game that took place Sunday, January 29th at 3 p.m. in Philadelphia. Wow, what a crapshoot. What an absolute crapshoot. The Eagles absolutely dominated the 49ers. It was a complete thrashing. It wasn't even close. Final score, I believe, was like 28-7 was the last I saw it. I think they scored again after that, but I couldn't watch anymore. I just couldn't. It was so bad. Bad on the 49ers part. Obviously, the Eagles, which I said last week, looked like the most complete team in the NFL. I was 100% correct on that. They absolutely were. They completely wrecked shop against 49ers. It's not totally the 49ers' fault, though. They had a really bad string of bad luck. I mean, Murphy's Law took place on Sunday. If you don't know what Murphy's Law is, that is anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And boy, howdy did it for the 49ers. They came out of the gate slow. They came out of the gate unable to run the ball, even with Christian McCaffrey and their whole slew of linebackers. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant turned relevant, was doing his best, but very early on, I think one of their first or second drive, he took a nasty-looking hit. I mean, it didn't look that bad, but he was throwing the ball in about mid-motion through the, you know how a quarterback throws a ball. He had the ball probably up by his head, and so elbow bent, close to his body, getting ready to throw the ball, and a lineman, either a lineman or a linebacker, defensive guy, hits his arm as he's throwing, and I don't know that it was a torn UCL, but it's certainly a UCL injury that is most likely going to require something called Tommy John surgery. That's something a lot of baseball pitchers get because they tear out that ligament in their elbow throwing so hard so often. Big Ben Roethlisberger had that surgery about 2 years ago. The year before his final season, he had that surgery done, mainly just because his was just worn out. I don't believe he got hit. His was just worn out. So yeah, Brock Purdy not looking great for him. They bring in, I don't even remember the guy's name, but he's fourth string, like practice squad guy who was a backup for Brock Purdy. That's never good. They were really reaching into the depths. And I think I heard some talk of they were thinking of using Christian McCaffrey or George Kittle or literally anybody else that can at least throw the ball a little bit. The kid they put in there who, he could throw the ball a little bit, but not nearly enough. The Philadelphia defense just absolutely picked them apart for the rest of the afternoon. It was ugly. It got ugly quick. It got ugly real quick. You hate to see it for the 49ers. Tough way to go out. Kyle Shanahan as great a coach he is, he just has this weird no good luck comes from Kyle Shanahan. We can trace that back all the way to the Atlanta Falcons 28-3 upset loss in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Falcons were up 28-3 at halftime. Patriots come all the way back to tie it by the end of the game. Then they win in overtime. It was not great. The offensive coordinator of that Atlanta Falcon team was Kyle Shanahan. So dude just doesn't seem to have any good luck when it comes to big games. It's just not – it's not great. And, everyone likes to make fun of the Packers, me included, that, hey, they're going to show up to the playoffs and they're going to get beat by San Francisco. Well, San Francisco is going to make it, to the NFC Championship game and lose, or they're going to make it to the Super Bowl and they're going to lose. Kyle Shanahan, I don't think, has a Super Bowl himself. He's been to plenty, but he hasn't won one himself. And I think the curse of this 28-3 thing is really what started it all. And now it's all people are going to talk about. Still a great head coach, still a great offensive mind when his players are healthy. And that's why I hesitate to really beat too hard down on the 49ers, because it wasn't totally their fault, right? They've been strewn with injuries all season. The fact they made it this far with the personnel they had is, I don't want to say miraculous, but it's certainly impressive. It shows the team is resilient all the way through, not just the starting 11, the next 11 and the next 11 after that. Every single man on that 53-man roster is committed and determined and tough as nails. So better luck next time, 49ers. You'll be missed. Now on to the Eagles. Wow, those guys look good, didn't they? Like I said last week, the Eagles were the absolutely most complete team coming into the playoffs, coming into this championship game. Hurts is healthy. The wide receivers are catching anything within 5 yards of them. Devontae Smith is stretching himself out, catching a one-handed pass, landing in bounce, getting up, and then instead of celebrating, he started doing a hand signal. If you watch the game, he started pounding his knuckles together. That's the signal for, hey, I don't know if I actually caught that, so let's get up and run a play so they can't challenge it. And that's just smart football. That is, as Pat McAfee likes to say, big brain football. That dude is smart. That team is smart to have something like that in place. I'm sure most teams do, but not a lot of guys think about it. They're too caught up in the moment. Devontae Smith didn't let the moment get too big for him. He makes that a way wild catch all the way down the field. I think it was on their first drive that they had the ball. And, catches it one hand perfectly out of midair, probably about a yard in front of him, too. So he's, reaching for it, nabs it, falls down hard. It actually looked like he caught it inbounds. The ref right there said he caught it. Didn't want to give 49ers a chance to challenge it. Gets up, gives the signal, hey, we got to make a play. Let's go. Team rushes up. They run a play, and it's like a quick slant or something like that. They didn't score, but it wasn't just a spike either. It was an actual play where, you give something else a chance to happen. But, yeah, very smart not letting 49ers challenge it. Again, it looked like to me he caught it, but I'm an armchair guy. I sit back and just kind of let things happen while I'm watching the game. And, to me it looked like he caught it. The ref sitting right there said he caught it. Now we know how refs are not always the most correct people in the world, but this guy seemed to know what he was talking about. Didn't even give him a chance. Again, I don't know that even if they had the chance to challenge it, that A, they would have, or B, they would have won that challenge. And C, if they did, so let's see. If they did challenge it and if they won it, I don't know that it would even matter. Because, okay, fine, you take it all the way back. They just get another play. It's like, okay, it's second down instead of first down, or third down instead of second down, or whatever. So 49ers don't end up challenging it. They don't waste a timeout. They don't waste a challenge. And it kind of works out for the best as far as the Eagles are concerned. Wide receivers were crazy good out there. A.J. Brown got involved in this game, which was very impressive. It was happy to see him. He was a little frustrated at the end of last game. Granted, they didn't need him. He did his job perfectly at the end of last game, which was take up two or three defenders. The Giants did everything in their power to cover A.J. Brown, and it left everybody else wide open for Jalen Hurts to go to. This week, the 49ers thought that they could handle A.J. Brown, and he was still making problems. He was putting out a lot of problems out there. So just a complete effort. And of course, Miles Sanders is running the ball like a madman. Love to see him getting his touchdowns and doing everything. He's good. He's a good running back, dude. They're gonna be they're gonna be tough to beat in the Super Bowl. That is absolutely for sure. The head of steam that these guys have coming up is nuts. Is absolutely nuts. And Coach Sirianni, which anyone who's been listening to this will hear me call him a first-year head coach. That is incorrect. He is a second-year head coach. This is his second year in the NFL as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I apologize if anyone listening knew that and was screaming like, this guy's an idiot. Why is he the one on the radio? So my apologies. Yeah, Coach Sirianni is a second-year head coach. This is his sophomore year. And wow, that just goes to show how much turnaround he's had. Last year, I didn't even know he was the head coach. I probably did know it, but I forgot it. But they didn't do anything, right? The whole NFC East, Cowboys, Commanders now, and the Giants and the Eagles, they didn't do anything last year. Now 3 of them made the playoffs this year. Like, that's insane. What a turnaround for an entire division. But it's no wonder I thought Sirianni was a first-year head coach. He didn't do anything last year. He didn't do anything worth note. And that just, not to tangent it, but that goes off of a point I've been making before, which is you got to give these head coaches more than just a single year to bring your team together, right? I mean, the Browns are famous for, all right, put a head coach in. Oh, he didn't make it? All right, next guy. Oh, he didn't make the Super Bowl? Okay, next guy. The Browns I pick on because they're the only example I can really think of, but there's been plenty of teams that do it, right? And as a Steelers fan, you find it really odd because we've had 3 head coaches since the merger. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. In my lifetime, the Steelers will probably only ever have like 6 head coaches. And that's weird to think about. But yeah, I mean, Tomlin's coming up probably towards the end of his tenure, and then there's going to be another guy who's going to go for about 20 years, and then a 6th guy. And that'll be the last head coach I probably see. But either way, anyway, yeah, you got to give these coaches time, and Nick Sirianni has proved it. You got to give these guys time to build their team, make their decisions. Again, in the Giants game, the thing that made me love Sirianni as a coach was just he calls for a 2-point conversion when they're already up 27-0. Goes for a 2-point conversion just to draw him offside, see if he could, and someone questioned him. He's like, I know what the F I'm doing out here. I'm the head coach. And I'm like, yeah, you are, dude. All right. Hey, I like it. I like the intensity. This guy's fun to listen to. He's fun to watch. I'm excited. I wish him all the luck. Maybe if he does well, they'll put a statue right out there by Doug Peterson's and Nick Foles, Jalen Hurts, and Nick Sirianni. Now, hopefully these guys stick around in Philadelphia. Hopefully Philadelphia doesn't Philadelphia themselves and then get rid of these guys in the next 5 years, because they put that statue up after the last Super Bowl they won. And neither one of those dudes that are in the statue are on the team anymore. Doug Peterson, obviously, head coach of the Jaguars, and Nick Foles is a backup somewhere. I don't even know where he is. I truly don't. So, yeah, hopefully the Eagles don't eagle it up and get rid of these guys anytime soon. Now, of course, they got to win first, right? You don't get a statue if you don't win the Super Bowl. Or maybe they'll hold off on the statue until they both retire, which I think would be the smart move. But that's Philadelphia. They're not exactly known for their smart decisions going forward. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot more to say about the NFC Championship game. This was a beatdown of epic proportions. Epic proportions by Philadelphia. 2 times in a row they've done this. They did it to the Giants. Now they're doing it to they did it to the 49ers. Can they do it in the Super Bowl? I kind of hope not, because the Super Bowl is supposed to be fun and interesting and it's supposed to be a close game. I'll never forget the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl from 2019, and the Rams just got absolutely beat. No, they didn't. The Rams just couldn't score, but neither could the Patriots. Their defenses were just so good. It was such a low-scoring, boring game. It was like, oh, my God, why are we watching this? And I get it. Defense wins championships. Offense gets you to the championship. Defense wins it. I understand that, but a little too much defense and not nearly enough offense that was getting all the credit, by the way. You ever notice how the offenses get all the credit? Yeah, and that's going to come into play here in the AFC Championship game, which took place on the same day January 29th at 6:30 p.m. in Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium, or Burrowhead if you're from Cincinnati. Unfortunately, all that trash talk was for naught because the Chiefs did walk away with a win, 23-20. And I mean it when I say, other than probably Cincinnati Bengals fans, no one is less happy about this than me. I am very annoyed by the whole situation. And look, I don't want to take too much away from the Chiefs, right? I want that to be perfectly clear. The Chiefs went in to their home turf where they were actually almost the underdogs, right? Everyone's thinking Joe Burrow's 3-0 against the Chiefs. Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow is cool. He doesn't let the pressure and the noise or anything get to him. And that is 100% correct. But this time, I wouldn't even say it got to him. It got to his team. His team around him couldn't hear him. His team around him couldn't keep their composure. His team around him let him down. But again, the Chiefs went in. They got a win. They technically played better football. It's how it goes. One or two miscues here and there from the Bengals. And, it wasn't total miscues. I mean, the Bengals offensive line, they're using three guys who just had their first start last week. And they looked great last week. But this week, that Chiefs defense just ate them up. It really did. Joe Burrow didn't have more than a second to throw the ball or make a decision or even see where his receivers were. They were all covered. And he had, he had three very large linemen or linebackers in his face almost every single play. I mean, he got to the point now where he just knew the pressure was coming. He would just turtle. He would just turtle down, take the hit, get up, next play. Okay. And, good for him. He never looked like it was getting to him all that much, but obviously it was because they lost. So Chiefs get the win. In my opinion, not really just because they played better. They didn't play all that much better than the Bengals. The Chiefs look sloppy too. Mahomes has a bum ankle, high ankle sprain, which typically takes about a month to heal. He was 8 days. He was out there 8 days after the injury, doing his best. And you can see it was affecting him a little bit. Not very deep passes, can't push off with that right. And if you listen to Tony Romo, he doesn't need it. Yeah, you kind of do. The ankle's a support system of the body. It's a big, big support thing. And you got to be able to throw with it and not get rolled up on every other play by your big lineman or get stepped on. I don't think the Chiefs necessarily played better than the Bengals. They didn't play much better, at least. But I'm not going to blame the referee. I mean, the refs were awful. The refs are bad, right? I mean, the officiating in the NFL, and this is something I hope to talk to Zach about more when he comes in, or next time. Maybe that'll be our next week's show, because I don't know that we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl all that much, unless the Pro Bowl is really cool. But either way, we plan on talking about NFL officiating here sometime soon. But it's bad. It's been bad for a really long time. Ask, anybody in the world, especially Patriots fans, like, how bad's the officiating? Look back to the Tuck rule in 2001. Tom Brady, that's what launched a dynasty against the Raiders. If you ask Raiders fans, officiating has been bad since the 70s with the Immaculate Reception. They think that's just bad officiating. They don't think that was ever a call and the refs blew it, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, refereeing in the NFL has been poor, to say the least. Very, very poor. And it definitely played a factor in this game. It did. I'm not blaming the refs for the Bengals losing, because if you blame the referees, you make it sound like you screwed up long before that. I've said this before on the show, which is blaming the referees just means you made so many mistakes that it came down to one referee's call. I still truly believe that. Unfortunately, there wasn't one referee's call that changed this game. It was many different referees' calls and one no call. And one that was kind of a call that they decided was a call after the fact and then called it back and redid it. And of course, I'm talking about the infamous 3rd and 9, where the Chiefs are 3rd and 9 in their own territory. They get the play off. There was something happening with the clock beforehand. Like, the clock wasn't right. The game clock wasn't right. The play clock was off, whatever. So the ref, head ref, I forget his name, but he's a jerk anyway, so I don't really care. Gets up there And he tells me, reset the game clock, reset the play clock, and on my signal, the clock will run. So they change it. I saw it on the screen. They changed the clock. And then he backs up and he does his signal and blows his whistle like, okay, clock can resume. Clock starts rolling. Play clock starts rolling. Chiefs snap the ball, throw it short of the first down. It was like 4th and 3, right? And that was great. Big stop by Cincinnati. If you're rooting for Cincinnati, it was great. If you're not, it was kind of, bad. So yeah, 4th and 3, Cincinnati gets a really big stop, and then all of a sudden there's some confusion on the field. All of a sudden the refs start talking to each other, and all of a sudden nobody really knows what's happening anymore, and Tony Romo can't figure it out because Tony Romo doesn't really know a lot about anything. And then all of a sudden the head ref gets back on the microphone and he goes, okay, so we tried to stop that last play from ever happening, but it did. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset and we're going to do 3rd and 9 all over again. And everyone was kind of like, why? What do you mean you tried to stop the play? There was no whistle. Nobody blew a whistle. And they zoomed the camera out on the replay, right? And Tony Romo and his partner are looking at it, and they're like, I'm not sure what they're talking about. And then up at the very, very tippy top of the screen, you can see a referee, the sideline judge, run out onto the field from the sideline, run into the field, and just kind of runs there. He's not waving his hands. He's not blowing his whistle. He's just kind of running into the play before the ball snapped. Then as the ball snapped, he stops and backs up because obviously he doesn't want to get hit. Well, and then he goes over to the head ref and is like, hey, we needed to stop that play because of clock or something, another clock issue. And that apparently is reason enough for them to go, okay, reset. We'll try it again. There was no penalty. There was nothing. No official reason given other than the clock was messed up. So we're just going to redo the down. And I mean, dude, as someone who is not a Bengals fan, but is a fairness kind of guy and likes to see new teams succeed, Bengals winning their first Super Bowl would be great for them. Kansas City's kind of been on a tear of winning. Everyone's making a big deal about it. And I have some more issues with them I'll get into in a little bit. But just after that, you're just kind of like, what are you talking about? Of course, the place is going crazy because they get to try 3rd and 9 again. And Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Bengals, is losing his mind because what do you mean you guys screwed up and now my team has to suffer? My defense, who's already gassed. It's 2020, man. The score is 2020. It's tied. My defense is busting their chops out here, man, trying to just keep the Chiefs out, keep them out and win this game. And you're telling me that we have to replay an entire down, a pivotal 3rd and 9? This is ridiculous. It's bad officiating. So he ran out of the field. He could have been blowing his whistle, and if that wasn't working, start waving his hands so the head referee can see you. There's 5 of you guys out there or more. Talk to each other, right? Figure it out. Start waving your hands. Run into the middle of the play. They're not going to hit you, and if they do, that's 15 yards the other direction. Yeah, it's going to hurt for a minute, but you'll be okay. Toughen up. You're a grown man. I don't know. Either way, the reffing was awful. Well, okay, so they redo the 3rd and 9. And what happens next? Cincinnati gets a sack on Patrick Mahomes, makes it 4th and 13. Except now there's a flag on the play for holding on the defense, on the Bengals. And it was kind of a bogus call. The dudes, they're within everybody knows the receiver and cornerback has about a 5-yard buffer where they can hand fight and slap each other. Well, the Bengals guy kind of put his arm on the other dude's shoulder, and then that other dude, seeing that, turned into it to make it look like he was being pulled. It was, in my eyes, pretty bogus call, but the refs called it. They were calling everything. And they gave him a free 10 yards and made it 1st down. So, yeah, it was if you didn't know any better, right? And this is not true. I don't believe this, but it certainly looked fixed. It certainly looked like, no, we need him to get a 1st down. So whatever you have to call it, get him a 1st down. That's not true. Rigging the NFL would be like faking the moon landing, right? I know there's people out there who believe it. but it's not true. The money, the secrecy, the amount of people that would have to be in on it, not just a handful of refs, it's ridiculous. Like it's a ridiculous notion, but it's certainly looked at in that moment of just like, man, they really want the Chiefs to get this first down. They being the ominous shadow NFL corporate whatever, they really want the Chiefs to get this first down. It was not at all the case. It's just bad officiating, bogus holding calls, terrible communication, bad clock management. These guys need to go. Refs we need to fire all these part-time refs and get some full-timers in there who are hired by the NFL and only work for the NFL. They don't do anything else for anybody. That is my solution to that. Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Zach's here, everyone. I was just ripping apart the NFL refereeing corps.
Yeah, well, something's got
to change. That's what we decided. That's what I decided while you were gone. Something's got to change, and I say fire them all and hire some full timers. Let me get your mic turned on there.
Absolutely. I'm going to stand today, is that all right?
Sure, whatever you want to do.
I feel like I feel cooler that way.
Everybody's going to be looking at your back shoulder, so that's okay. Yeah, I was recapping. I already kind of went through the NFC Championship game. Do you have anything to say about it other than it was an absolute beatdown of the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, when you're on your fifth starting quarterback, I really think, that is the team. I mean, that is the best team in the playoffs. The fact that they made it that far with a third string 7th round pick is phenomenal. And I think if Brock Purdy stays in the game, maybe they don't win, but I think it's a lot closer.
Yeah, and I wanted to make that a point that it could have been a very different game if they were healthy, but Brock Purdy went down. Bosa went down with a cleat to his ankle or something like that. I mean,
he will not be watching the Super Bowl.
He will not be?
Nope, he said
good for him.
It'll be a really good game. I can't watch it. And you kind of feel for that heartbreak or whatever.
Oh, yeah, man. That could be you out there.
Right.
Yeah. So I was about halfway through the AFC Championship game, and then I started going on my tangent about the infamous 3rd and 9 that was redone. And again, I want to make it clear to you. I made it clear to them, but I'm making it clear to you now, which is Chiefs got the win. They played slightly better football than the Bengals, right?
Right.
I would say they roughly played about the same. And I'm not blaming the refs for giving the win to the Chiefs because that's ridiculous. The refs don't give games to anybody. But they certainly played a factor in the Chiefs winning by frustrating the Bengals to the point where they were making even dumber mistakes going forward.
And that's the thing with football. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so compelling because you don't have to be the better team to win.
Right.
If you have the right game plan, if the matchups are well, if you scheme the right way, you don't have to be the best team to win. So while Kansas City, on paper throughout the season is the better team, that doesn't mean they deserve the win.
Right.
And, I used to, and when you get to these championship games, I wrestled in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wrestled for, 8-9 years. And
I didn't know I was in the radio studio with a badass, by the way. So.
That's not true. But, and when you get to, and I grew up in northeastern Ohio, and Ohio's like Pennsylvania is, is a huge wrestling state.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah.
And if you've ever watched a wrestling tournament, what happens is once you get to that elite level of competition, it's really not about the better wrestler. I mean, it is, but you don't have these high scoring matches, right? You're 2-1, 3-1, 2-4, whatever. It's about the wrestler that makes the least amount of mistakes, right? So when you look at football and you're minimizing mistakes, but those are being recalled by imperfect humans in an imperfect system, it has an unfair and direct correlation with the game. Yeah. And people that are passionate about this, like you and myself, it tarnishes the product.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and think about it. If you anything else in your entertainment wise, because football is entertainment, right? If I go to a movie and almost at the end of it, it starts bugging out or it changes pace or it becomes a bad movie, I'm going to stop, enjoying the movies and supporting that director that, that avenue. And I think the NFL's biggest competition in American media or in American fanship is itself. And it has to fix itself.
It's shooting itself in the foot with these terrible officials.
Right.
Just these awful guys. And all the good officials get taken out and put on TV at ESPN and Sportsnet because it pays better.
Right.
And I think my solution, and this is going to be a little harsh, fire all these guys that are in right now. Fire them.
Right.
Hire full-time referees, not these part-timers who are doctors and lawyers and kind of do whatever in the off-season.
Right.
Full-time referees whose entire livelihood depends on calling a game as an official. Like, hired by the NFL or whoever, by the NFLPA for all I care.
Well, I like lawyers. I mean, because the NFL rule book is complex. It's changing.
Yes.
And you do have to be well versed in that. So if you have somebody that studied law, that understands like the intricacies of, how law works, I like the idea of lawyers, and I follow it. I don't think you need to fire everybody, but you most definitely
I'm being dramatic, but yeah.
You definitely need to make full-time employment. What full-time employment means, it doesn't mean just higher pay. It means that, whatever, the 7 or 8 years when they're not in session, they are going to, sessions and seminars to better their job.
Right.
The NFL will pay to have them better at it. And let's not dismiss the fact that this is 2023. You have technology. We have the ability to spot, and I'm going to say a bad word, like an ant or a fly on a zebra's ass in Africa from the United States. We have those.
We can see it from space.
Right, absolutely. So the fact that we can't, utilize that technology, it seems like the NFL is curtailing expenses in an area where they don't need to.
Right, where they probably should be expending more.
Absolutely, and you don't.
I don't know if you're on Twitter a lot.
Sure, yeah, of course.
So after the AFC Championship game, I'm not on Twitter at all, and I knew this was happening. 28,000 people were tweeting #NFL rigged.
Right.
Not a good look for the NFL. And now I made this point earlier. Rigging the NFL would be like faking the moon landing. It would be impossible.
Sure.
It would be impossible. There's too many people that would need to be involved. The amount of money that they're not even willing to pay for better equipment or better tech, they would have to pay these people to keep a lifelong secret. How many people do you know that can keep a lifelong secret?
Sure.
I couldn't. Right. I don't think I ever will. I don't want to. I don't want to know.
Right. I think the Bushes can.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think leading members of the CIA can and have. But
either way, they're not in the NFL.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, it would be faking the moon landing. It would be impossible. So no, I don't believe the NFL is rigged, but it's a bad look for the NFL for people to believe it's fixed, especially when you're trying to get sports gambling popular in all 50 states. There's only 14 right now. Why would you rig it with only 14 people competing? There's probably max only ever going to be like 45 states that legalize it, because like Utah is never going to get it. California probably won't. Like, it's going to be a whole thing. Either way, that's not important. But what is important is, like, why would you do it now? Why wouldn't you wait till there's more money at stake and then fix it and then take everybody's money? It just business-wise doesn't make any sense to rig it now.
Right.
If you're going to rig it ever.
And this isn't, I don't think these are, and I think what people are having a hard time with is, and you're 100% right, nobody's rigging the NFL, or if they are, they're doing a bad job at it for multiple reasons. But what's happening is we're allowing fixable mistakes to tarnish a product, and we're relying too much on human error, and we're putting way too much responsibility on part-timers. And it's a bad look, and this could be the death of 1,000 paper cuts, and this could be a very much the start of an undoing in the NFL. And I don't think these decisions are made to affect one team or the other. I really don't. No. I think it's guys with pressure on that, who knows, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what's going on, and they make error in judgment calls.
Yeah, and you heard how loud it was at Arrowhead. I mean, that place was insane, insane.
A lot of stadium in the NFL.
Yeah, and that dude who tried to stop that 3rd and 9 play comes running out. I don't know if I didn't hear a whistle. I don't know if he was even blowing it. But if that doesn't work, you would think your next course of action is just to start flailing your arms and just being like, hey, stop the play. Like, do something. Don't just, oh, they started here, let me back up. Like, we'll fix it later. Like, no, that's a bad judgment call. That's not ooh, we can't let them get this, so we'll make up some hocus pocus about, oh, I was trying to stop the play. No, it was just a bad judgment call. Dude froze up in a crowd, that is off, like probably causing an earthquake somewhere with how loud it is. It was worth addressing. I don't want to turn our whole AFC championship into it, but I don't really want to take that much away from Kansas City because they did win the game. They did go out there and get the monkey off their back. That is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yep. I'm just still not happy about it.
Yeah, and the NFL doesn't care, right? Because what this does is it creates a intriguing storyline.
People are talking about
this is going to be. I guarantee you, Kansas City and Cincinnati is going to be a primetime game when that schedule releases. And
oh my God,
what is it? A month after the draft or whatnot.
Yeah,
that is going to be. We're going to see it right there. That may, if Kansas City wins, that could be the game that starts the season next year in Arrowhead. So
yes, yeah. So yeah, hey,
can I say one more thing about that though? One more thing. So what the NFL is trying to do, what the NFL is very passionate about, and this was more so than the last CBA, they are very concerned with the amount of time that the NFL takes, right? So they don't want 4-hour games, right? They want to keep it nice and tight, 3.5 hours games. So what they do is they rely on these referees, these human beings, to make these decisions, and that's where these error judgments are being had, is because of the NFL's emphasis to speed the games along.
Yeah.
Nothing is more boring. See, I hate this, and I don't know how you are. I'll watch a guy, like a supreme athlete, make an insane catch, and in my subconscious, and maybe I say it out loud, I'll be like, just give him a catch. Like these guys at some point, like, okay, like his little pinky toe, the little hit a blade of grass that was white. Do we need that? Like,
no.
Let's reward, positive and amazing athletic accomplishes.
Yeah. So it actually brings up a point from the NFC game that I don't know if you caught, but Devontae Smith catches a wild ball down the field, right? Reaches out, grabs it, one-handed, lands, barely in bounds. They give him the catch. He gets up and starts doing the knuckles to knuckles, which is the signal for his team to go, hey, I don't even know if I caught that. We need to run a play so that we can't sit. Every team, I'm sure every team has that contingency, but I've never seen it implemented like that, where most guys get up, they're celebrating, they have first down, woo. He got up, didn't even look at the first down, and he just started going like, hey, we need to go run a play now because I don't know that I caught that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a balance to be made between, like, we don't need to examine every little thing to a pinky toe on a blade of grass, but we also want to keep things like fair enough to where it's like, I don't want to say blatant because blatant can mean different things to different people. What's blatant to you is not blatant to me, right? So blatant catch means different things to all 50,000 people watching or 5 million people watching around the world. There's a balance to be struck. I hope the NFL finds it because this is getting ridiculous. It's bad look after bad look, but it's bad press is good press, right?
Yeah, and this is going to be a great, I guarantee that, of course, they're going to be a primetime game. And,
oh, yeah.
It is what it is. And, I mean, I have not stopped watching the NFL, even though there have been bad calls. And everybody thinks they have bad calls.
Yes.
And the makeup, the apologies the day after, they don't help. But I do feel, I don't like WWE. I don't like the wrestling stuff. That's just not, I don't. Mm-hmm. But that's what
that one's obviously fake. It's obviously scripted. You know who's going to
win. And I feel like the NFL, I feel like that is what they're trying to attempt at times, or that was what it could turn into.
Yeah, you can see it of like, okay, hey, we want, and this doesn't do anybody any favors, but hey, Andy Reid versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, the Kelsey brothers, first brothers to ever face each other in a Super Bowl. Though they won't even be facing each other. One's an offensive lineman and one's an offensive tight end. They're never going to be on the field together, other than the coin flip, maybe. So I don't know why that's even a story. But
if I was their parents, if I was the mom, I don't know about the dad, but if I was the mom, I would tell my children, like, I will love whoever wins more.
I
This
would
is
go to-
how we're going to figure this
I
out.
would go to each one of them separately because you're like, I'm rooting for you secretly.
I would make them.
Make them know. So one last thing, and this is just a personal note about the Chiefs. Here's why I'm tired of the Chiefs, personally. And it's not even anything personal about Patrick Mahomes. Like, I like Patrick Mahomes. He's a great quarterback. Probably one of the best who's ever going to do it, right? Dude's on fire. What annoyed me immediately following this game was a guy like Shannon Sharp, who is paid to say ridiculous things on television. That's his whole goal. He's like Skip Bayless. Him and Skip just say things to get people angry and talking. And it worked on me. Shannon Sharp gets in there and he goes, "We knew it all along that Patrick Mahomes was the better quarterback." And I'm like, guys, he's 1-3 against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes beats him once, and everyone's like, "We knew it. We knew it. He's the better quarterback."
Wait, do you think?
Case closed.
But do you think Joe Burrow's a better quarterback?
In head-to-head, absolutely.
No way. Well, I mean, like, what better quarterback? There's things that Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not saying of an overall skill level he is better than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can do things that no quarterback can do, and we all know it. We all see it, right? Sidewinders, underhands, bum ankle, doesn't matter, right? The kid can do it all. Joe Burrow
break tackles.
Joe Burrow head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes was the better quarterback on paper.
Yeah.
Better, more wins, better completions, better point differential, whatever you want to call it. Just a lot better. Patrick Mahomes beats him once. And everyone's acting like, "Oh, yeah, we knew it all along." Joe Burrow only had 3 flukes, right? Once is a fluke. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. And
Sure.
I feel like immediately after losing, Joe Burrow got 0 credit. Like, immediately not credible in the mainstream, like, sports media world.
Yeah.
Whether they actually believe that or not, I don't know, but they're peddling that story.
I can't stand it. I used to be such a big fan of ESPN, but it's stuff like that, like exactly what you're talking about. That I mean, that used to be on all the time. Top 20, top 10, was my jam. It'd be on in the morning. Me and my roommates, we'd be, that it was just. And now I can't
watch it.
I can't watch it. The articles are always really. I was a huge sports reader.
Mm-hmm.
Huge sports reader at Post Gazette until they went on strike. But the whole sports media, and that'll be a topic for the offseason. I am very excited to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah, and so is officiating. Officiating is going to be fun.
Yeah, and
we need to dive into that.
And it's a complex issue, right? A lot of people want to say, "Oh, the refs are rigged," like, "Oh, they hate my team," or whatever. And there are things that are.
Dude, nobody's been happy with officiating. I mean, depending on the fan base, right? You can ask. No, honestly, the only 2 biggest examples I can think of are the Raiders. So if you ask a Raiders fan, refs have been rigged since the 70s when the Immaculate Reception happened.
Right.
If you ask a younger Raiders fan, they'll be like, "Oh, it's been rigged since 2001 with the Tuck rule."
Right.
That launched the dynasty.
Browns with Bottlegate.
Yeah, Browns, Bottlegate. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And then, yeah, it's or if you ask a Patriots fan in the middle of their dynasty, they're like, "Oh, it's rigged against us because everyone hates us." And It's like, you guys are idiots. But Steelers, the Jesse James catch against the Patriots when he was kind of over the line and the ball's dead as soon as it crosses the plane, but his knee was down on the goal line. They ruled him down, no touchdown. Like, yeah, you ask a fan base, it's rigged.
Joe Hayden pass interference against the Saints. That was one of the worst calls in the week before they beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
Where Joe Hayden had that crazy interception. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always going to be a thing. I don't think it's ever actually going to be fixed.
When you have humans involved, you're going to have human error.
Yeah, it just needs to be better.
Minimize that.
It needs to be better. So yeah, that's my final point about the Chiefs too. Is just like, look, hey, good job, Patrick Mahomes. Again, one of the best to ever do it. Statistically, he's probably going to go above and beyond anybody in his age group. He's going to be better than Joe Burrow probably forever. But these 2 facing off against each other, head to head right now, Joe Burrow's the better quarterback on paper.
Who's better quarterback, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning.
Right, but Tom Brady has the better record.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be one of those things.
It could be one of those things.
The renewal of the rivalry, which the NFL loves.
Oh yeah,
and the fans love it. I mean, I
love it. Yeah, and you get to pick a side. I always go with the guy that everybody likes, but nobody gives credit. I don't feel like enough credit. Hey, you just brought him up, but guess who retired today?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady finally retires after, 23, 24 seasons?
Jesus.
Yeah. And I mean, he put a little video out on his Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and a little goodbye and thanks. And of course, hey, good job, Tom. You did it. You proved age is just a number, and you played into your mid-40s. You won 7 Super Bowls. More, you won as a single person more Super Bowls than any franchise in history.
Right.
So, I mean, all the respect in the world. I don't like the guy as a player. Sure, he's a great personal dude. You got to respect it.
Can I tell you how I knew he was going to retire? Like, I really wish I would have, but I didn't notice it until this week. I should have texted you.
Yeah.
So, because he has that huge contract with Fox, right? So he's going to get whatever, $100 million for 7 years or something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
And those numbers aren't right. But so I noticed this with Jerome Bettis. I noticed this with Ryan Clark. And then Tom Brady started doing it. And he did it a little bit more so on social media because that really didn't exist on that. But when these guys are retiring or getting close to that retiring, they start giving their analytics, right? So they're analyzing. They start analyzing the game.
Like
Jerome,
they're practicing.
You're right. Auditioning in a sense. And I saw Jerome Bettis do that. Immediately after he wins the Super Bowl, he starts giving, interviews where he's like, oh, this is what the Steelers are going to do next season, which seemed really odd coming from a player. He hadn't retired yet, but he was still in that thing. Ryan Clark did the same thing. And I saw Tom Brady start talking about the referees and start giving a little more, opinion-based things of the game.
A guy who's been very, hey, whatever they decide, I'm just a player, whatever. Right. Very quiet.
Sure.
Very quiet. And that is something. Yeah, I didn't notice.
And he's done. He's out. So and more power to him. He's caused me so much heartache. I mean, he is he's caused me more heartache than any woman I've ever dated.
Yeah.
Any failed adventure.
This guy has been a part of my life, literally my entire memory. My first ever game that I remember watching. My first ever Super Bowl I remember watching was the 2002 Super Bowl of the Patriots beating the Rams. It was the first Super Bowl I remember. I was like 5 years old or something like that. I mean, it's the only one I can truly remember. Maybe I wasn't watching football before that, but yeah, it was the first one I remember. And it's like, wow, this, just thinking back on that 23 years ago or 21 years ago it's nuts, man. It's absolutely insane. This dude is a part of so many people's lives. He'll be forever linked to the game, linked to the league.
Yep.
I mean, God, it's the end of an era. But all right, kind of put a damper on that little emotional speak. Is this one going to stick?
I think so. I think
because he kind of retired last year, then he kind of didn't.
Yeah, and I think Tom Brady's didn't want to retire, was still thinking about it. Then it got leaked, and all these things happened. I think his lack of control kind of drove him to maybe even come back. But this year he seems like he's in control. I really like that idea. Hey, you really only get to retire once. I left, that last time, this is just me, straight up to the fans.
He probably didn't even text Adam Schefter. Right. I wouldn't. I would be like, nah, dude, you ain't getting nothing from me for the rest of my life after what you did to me last year, dude.
Was that Schefter?
It was either Schefter or not Rappaport. It wasn't Rappaport. It was the third guy.
Not Glazer.
No, not Glazer. I feel like it was Schefter.
It's probably Schefter.
It was probably Schefter. Yeah, he was taking a lot of heat for that afterwards, I think.
As they should, because the existence of their
jobs is ridiculous.
It's the dumbest thing. How did we? Yeah, that is.
Yeah, an NFL insider, dude. Imagine if that was your job. When I text you and go, or you text me and say, hey, what's happening this week? And I go, I'm looking at head coaches. And then you immediately tweet without ever verifying anything. Just go, head coach Tim Walmsley looking for replacement head coach.
Yeah.
You don't have any other details but that, and that gets 1 million likes and retweets, and the NFL pays you $100,000 for it.
I mean, well, they are the official, yeah. But it's the fact that we have created a need for that in our dopamine-driven brains is absurd to me.
Yes, that is something I would love to get into too. What started the NFL Insider? What started the Insider? MLB Insider. I mean, they're everywhere.
Sure. That would be very interesting.
How are they like? They're reporters, but they don't ever have to verify anything. They just tweet.
Yeah.
They just tweet all day. They can break news. Technically, they give on all the TV shows and are like, "Oh, hey, here's what I heard from."
And the
Pittsburgh.
constant violation of HIPAA.
Yeah.
Like these are like if I am very worried, not worried, but my private medical information is nobody's business. Imagine you're somebody, and then the next thing you know, some dude is giving your private health care. I know it's an injury, it's a football injury, but still,
it's probably in the contract somewhere of like, hey, if you get hurt and it's not like a super personal injury, or if it happens on the field, we're allowed to devolve it to whoever we want. The NHL has a weird rule like that too, where they're not allowed to disclose the nature. No, they're not allowed to disclose the specifics, but they're allowed to give the nature. So in NHL, you'll always hear like, oh, it's an undisclosed lower body injury.
Right.
And that covers from the waist down. You have no idea what's actually wrong.
Yeah.
Or it's a arm injury. Didn't say which arm, doesn't say what part, just general.
Yeah, Bill Cowher advocated for that. And he would say, I think he would say, I don't want to misquote him, but he would lie on injury reports.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, why am I going to tell my opposing team that my quarterback's left knee's hurting?
Right.
I'm just going to tell them it's an upper shoulder injury.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot, but no, there have been times where and it has to do more with like illness or when the firework thing happened with James Pierce-Paul, where these guys are leaking private information.
Mm-hmm.
You should go to jail for that.
Yeah, that's a whole debate. Yeah, I would love to.
That's a great idea.
If we have time, when we get time and can actually dive into it, I would love to talk about NFL insiders and how they even came to be a thing and who's regulating them. Because the NFL, like, they work for the NFL. Well, Ian Rappaport works for the NFL. I think Adam Schefter works for ESPN. And there's a third guy. I can't think of him. It'll come to me as soon as we go off air. But he works for someone else. I think he works for like a newspaper or something. Like, and they're these insiders that they all just kind of, I don't know, they figure stuff out. If I ever got a text from one of those guys and I'm in the NFL, I'm not texting them back. I'm never going to text them back. I don't want to talk to you. Anything I say is liable to get blasted on Twitter. Even if I tell you not to, your job obligates you to do it. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I would love to get into that sometime this offseason. Wow.
Certainly.
Yeah. So, let's see. Hey, Tom Brady's end of an era. Patrick Mahomes, great quarterback, not better than Joe Burrow.
And this is – can I say something about the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Of all the storylines, when you had the Final Four, I think this is the best storyline. I think this is the one I'm most interested in. Like, going back to the city, Philadelphia couldn't win, had a lot of success, but couldn't win with Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. He leaves, wins the Super Bowl. He leaves Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl. Now they're back. And then I think that is, of all the, the storylines that we were being projected, the rematch of the Bengals San Francisco game, what was the other one? Philly, Cincinnati.
Just a bunch of small town guys. And
I think this is the most interesting. This is the one that I think I care about the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Andy Reid. I want him.
Yeah, I like Andy Reid. I like Nick Sirianni too. I'm rooting for the Eagles. So, hey, spoiler warning. Here's my pick for the Super Bowl. I'm going Eagles.
You're going Eagles.
Pennsylvania, baby.
Yeah.
I don't like Philly, but when it comes to Pennsylvania versus the rest of the country, I'm picking PA all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like Philadelphia. I like McNabb. I remember watching him, just the Philadelphia team in general. If my fandom was part of it, I would pick Philadelphia, but Kansas City's going to win.
Yeah. And I said this earlier in the show, but I need to apologize to anybody who's been listening and yelling at their screens because they knew this and I didn't. Nick Sirianni's second year head coach, not first. This is his second year.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, and that just proves what a turnaround he's had.
Yeah.
Nobody knew he was even the coach last year because it was such a dumpster fire in Philadelphia. And now they're off to the Super Bowl. I'm excited for this Super Bowl. A lot of changes this year. These ones aren't super duper important, but it's no longer the Pepsi halftime show. Did you catch that? It's the Apple Music halftime show now. And Rihanna's performing. How fun will that be? I think she hasn't performed live in 7 years.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's good to see Riri back.
Do you know what I hate the most about the Super Bowl?
Riri?
Going to Super Bowl parties.
Yes.
And then it's always, I hear it every time. I don't know. I've heard it throughout my life. I'm here to watch the commercial.
Then go home.
Shut up.
Then go home and watch the commercials.
And this is how, like, to our great listeners out there and my friends at home, this is some advice. The easiest and quickest way to tell somebody's not a real fan of football
mm-hmm.
is if they say the line, and you will hear it on Super Bowl Sunday. Well, they could call holding on every play.
Oh, yes. You've said this before.
That
yes.
is the most cliche,
yes.
and I'm going to hear it so much on Sunday.
Yes.
I just want to watch the commercials, and then I'll talk about the halftime show. Way too much conversation about the halftime show. And then they could call holding on every play.
My favorite Super Bowlism is I don't care who wins. I just want a good game.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
a good one, too.
I say all the time. I've said it this year probably more than ever because the Steelers weren't in the playoffs, right? So right. I truly didn't care. I just wanted to watch good football.
Yeah.
But when you're at a Super Bowl party, it's kind of do or die time. Like you gotta pick one. I'm telling you to pick one because as soon as you say that, you wind up with a 2019 game where the Patriots and the Rams had like a 19-point affair, maybe. Like, it was bad, right? You remember how boring that one was? I cared who won. Literally, I wanted the Rams to win. It was just such a piss-poor game.
I love that game.
I hated that game.
I love that game.
It was a defensive game, but that's something I don't much like. So, yeah, hopefully a heavyweight fight. I'm picking Eagles, though. I would truly like, and here's where I'm going to backtrack on what I just said. I really do want to see a good game, though. I don't want either side to get steamrolled.
Yeah.
That's just going to make for a really boring day. On top of an already, like, dude, I've been drinking since 10 a.m. I need some kind of excitement or I'm going to fall asleep.
Kansas City is going to go up. They're going to go up, big, mildly big, right? 13, 14, 17 points. And then Philadelphia is going to come back. They're going to make it a game. And I think
last second field goal?
Maybe something like that, or, converting on a third down so that you don't have to punt the ball back.
Redoing a third down.
Right. I think Kansas City is going to walk away with a W, but that is my prediction of that's my games. Game script.
I'm not going to go into the game script because I really am not sure how it's going to go because both these teams could, fly away with it any moment. But I am going to predict that we will see a return of the Philly special.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a Super Bowl play. That is a Super Bowl play. When you're in the Super Bowl, you have to run it once.
I'm definitely taking the under. I think I might put half on Kansas City and then half on the under because so many people are speculating this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah,
and it's been, you've got nerves. You're agitated a little bit. I think you're going to see a couple miscues here and there. I'm going to take the under.
I agree, but I'm still probably going to take the over because both of these offenses are nuts.
Yep.
They're
That's
just
exactly
insane.
Why.
They're just insane. The defenses are good. Their defenses are really good.
Yeah.
But these Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, they're almost like the yin and yang of each other, right? Jalen Hurts doesn't have the fancy arm work that Mahomes does, but he has the footwork. Mahomes, as right now, with the high ankle sprain, doesn't have the footwork.
Okay.
But he has the arm. So, yeah, I don't know. When it comes, let's break it down by position. The Kansas City wide receivers, they're down to 2 healthy wide receivers.
Yep.
And they might be healthy by the Super Bowl, but
yep.
You have Juju Smith-Schuster and someone else. No, Juju got hurt. I don't even know who. You have Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah.
And 2 other guys.
Did they get that guy that was Tony?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony got hurt.
He's lived hurt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's where he is. I don't know. There is a former Steeler on both teams, though.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. There's been a former Steeler on almost every team in this playoff.
Yeah, the Final Four. Yeah. And I think if going by past Steelers, I would want Hargrave to get the ring more so than Juju.
Yes.
Yes. I like Juju, but he's like an ex-girlfriend, right? I don't want to see her do well with somebody else.
Right.
I want him to do I want him to make money and get paid and stuff like that.
Yeah, good for you, bro. Yeah. Make your money.
Yeah, don't leave me for a law student. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Don't leave me for a ring.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Look, I just said I wasn't ready. I needed more time. I needed to build. And
right.
You were like, nah, bro, I'm going to get a ring tomorrow. Geez.
Before we go, the cap is expected to go up.
Yes, 220.
225, I think, or 226.
I thought it was 226.24.
Yeah, so it is going.
Million.
That is something that another deep dive is the Steelers cap situation, because it looks bleak, but it is not. I think after now they have like either 3 million over, or they're 500,000. I think they're 500,000 under or 3 million over, depending on how the books are opening up. But the Steelers don't let that worry you. The season changes, contracts change. The Steelers are going to be in a pretty good position to do something financially in this offseason. I don't think they will, but I think it'll be good.
I think they will. I think they'll make some good decisions.
Yeah, I think their decisions will be made. I don't think they'll be splash free agencies.
Yeah, maybe not. But hey, all right. Well, hey, last question, and then we'll get out of here. Are you planning on watching Pro Bowl?
No, I never do.
Even though it's different?
No, I'll catch up. I'll catch like the highlights.
Skills game, flag football, the Manning Bros.
I mean, that's fine. It's just not the intended audience. I don't think I'm the intended audience.
I'm going to watch it. I'll let you know how much better it is than the original.
I will definitely catch it. And I like the way they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I love my favorite thing to do, I know, is Lamar Jackson did that precision passing where he went like 0 for 8 in the Pro Bowl. My buddy's a Ravens fan. I love sending him that video. It's my favorite thing to do. Just running back in the QB.
Running back in the QB competition. Here we go. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday evening.
Wonderful evening.
And we'll see you back here next Wednesday in the chair.
Go Steelers.
Woo! That was good.
That woman won't let it.
Who?
That little girl.
Mary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're trying so hard, and like we're not like she just won't leave.
Yeah. She's talking for it.
Yeah, so it felt weird in there. It's because Lucas and Bella, but she wasn't in there yet.
Mm-hmm.
It is so weird in there.
I'm sorry.
So if you felt weird in there,
Ooh, we gotta stop the video.
Shit, I'm sorry. Oh no! I forgot to hang up. That didn't.
Don't worry.